Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts and was the youngest daughter of Fred Murray, a medical technician, and Laurie Murrays, a nurse. Maura grew up in Hanson, a small suburb on the south shore of Massachusetts in a working-class family with plenty of guidance from her siblings, including her older brother Fred Jr., sisters Kathleen and Julie, and younger brother Curtis. Her parents divorced when she was 6. Maura was an overachiever that excelled both academically, as a National Honor Society member, and athletically. At the same time, she was active in her local community where she became known for her kind heart, signature dimples, and beautiful smile. She participated in nearly every sport, including competitive AAU basketball, which allowed her to travel all over New England as a teenager. She graduated at the highest point of her group at Whitman-Hanson Provincial Secondary School and had her pick of universities, both scholastically and physically. Nonetheless, she chose to acknowledge a legislative designation from the late Representative Edward Kennedy and join her sister Julie at the esteemed U.S. Military Institute at West Point. Maura kept on succeeding in the thorough military and scholastic program at West Point and secured herself as a power on the cross-country and track groups. During her second year at West Point, Maura concluded the military was not for herself and she moved to the College of Massachusetts in Amherst, where she chose to seek after a lifelong in nursing. A wild contender, she reliably completed in the top level of sprinters in the province of Massachusetts and broke a few well-established school records. Chosen as a Boston Globe All-Educational in cross-country, Maura qualified for the U.S. Public Educational Open-Air titles in the 2-mile as a sophomore in 1998, completing 33rd in the country. On the morning of February 9, 2004, Maura presented her nursing schoolwork electronically and supposedly messaged teachers expressing there had been a demise in the family and she would leave grounds for the week. There was no passing in the family. She made a phone call to the proprietor of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, which is a spot that was exceptional to Maura and that she had invested energy at previously. She gathered a sack with toiletries, cosmetics, sort-out clothing, textbooks, and a few days of garments. At 3:15 p.m., Maura halted at an off-grounds ATM and pulled out $280, which was practically all of the cash in her record. She then halted at an alcohol store and bought about $40 worth of liquor. As per specialists, she withdrew the Amherst/Hadley, Mama region around 4:30 p.m. and drove her 1996 Saturn north toward New Hampshire. She didn't let anybody know her arrangements or why she was making a beeline for New Hampshire on that Monday evening. At 7:27 p.m., Confidence Westman, an occupant of Haverhill, New Hampshire, considered police and expressed that there had been a mishap close to her home and that a vehicle was trapped in a trench. Soon after, a transport driver named Butch Atwood drove by and addressed Maura. He offered her assistance and inquired as to whether she wanted him to call police. She declined the two offers and said she had proactively called AAA. Realizing there was no phone gathering around there, Atwood drove home, around 100 yards east of the mishap, left his transport, and went inside to call police. His call to 911 was put at 7:42 p.m. When inquired as to whether she seemed harmed, Atwood let police know that she seemed stirred up and that the airbags had conveyed, however that he saw no blood. When the principal official showed up on scene at 7:46 p.m., Maura was gone. The official noticed that the vehicle had been locked and there was a crate of red wine behind the driver's seat, as well as stains on the roof and entryway, and a Coke bottle that seemed to have a red fluid in it. He likewise noticed that there gave off an impression of being a cloth stuffed in Maura's tailpipe. Later it was discovered that this was the sort of thing Fred had encouraged Maura to do to try not to be tagged by police for the unnecessary smoke emerging from the tailpipe. The official asked the transport driver for help finding Maura and recommended he drive west of the mishap scene and search a portion of the streets in the French Lake region. A state officer likewise answered the scene and furthermore looked through the streets west of the mishap site. Fire and EMS additionally answered the scene. EMS was excused in practically no time, maybe in light of the fact that there was nobody at the scene to treat. The 8 firemen momentarily looked through in the mishap scene prior to continuing back west and getting back to the fire station. To the extent that anybody knows, nobody looked through east of the mishap scene. The transport driver's short collaboration with Maura was the most recent locating. Since that time, there has been no hint of her and no action on her mobile phone or ledgers.